Good evening and welcome to the Australian Stock Market Show. Now, the Australian stock market is looking great at the moment. We know you all like it when we share stocks that you can make good profits on. And tonight, it's no different as we get into the best copper stocks to buy in the second half of 2023. You can be rest assured that BHP is one of them. Plus, we have a few surprises for you. First up tonight, we will share our hot stock tip for the week before diving into our view on the sectors within the All Ordinaries Index. So sit back and relax. Tonight will be jam-packed as we answer your emails, take your phone calls and give you the answers to some of the important questions around the stock market. Hello and welcome to the Australian Stock Market Show. I'm Dale Gillham, your host for tonight, and joining me is Janine Cox, and we're Australia's most trusted stock market educators.
Well, thanks, Dale. It's exciting to be here, and I must say that we cannot wait to talk to everyone tonight. So I'd love to get some phone calls coming in, so get your phone ready when we ask, but we do need to get into our weekly hot stock tip, so how about you take it away?
I never thought you asked, Janine. I really didn't. We're going to talk about Bendigo or Bendigo Adelaide Bank tonight for our hot stock tip. On your screen, we've got the Market Index website, and you can see there the Bendigo Adelaide Bank stuff. Well, I put my glasses on, just down a little bit today, down 1.09%. You can see here the PE ratio is reasonable. It's only 13.67. Dividend yield pretty healthy there at 6.11%, so looking pretty good, but it's down 15% for the year. Now, both Janine and I are thinking banking is going to be a good sector moving forward, so I do like the look of this one, but you can see here that chart there. It's been really going sideways for quite some time, but we're going to take a look at a really nice chart on Optima and have a big look at what we're seeing here. On the left is the monthly chart, and on the right is the weekly chart. Now you can see this beautiful downward move here. It's quite interesting, that sort of move, isn't it, Jane?
Yeah, we like the way that these stocks unfold, especially this stock, because it's just so symmetrical almost, isn't it, in places?
Oh, it is. It just looks amazing. I'm going to put my little bit of work on, which I got this week. We lost it all last week. So you can see here there's this beautiful, I'm going to say momentum line coming down here. I've just used the trend line tool, but it's interesting how it comes down, it bops its head on it, comes down, bops its head on it, comes down, bops its head on it, again. So to me, I think once it gets through this sort of level, which is around 1045, 1050-ish through there, that could be a nice medium to longer term move. Now, put a couple of other things on it. There's some really good support there around that line there, around that $8-ish. Figure through there, just natural support. But these two numbers that I've put on it, $10.16 and $8.89, these are the two strongest levels of support or resistance this stock actually has currently. So our students will know exactly what I'm talking about, but to me, once it clears this $10.16, I think it's up.
You said 1040 though, so I'm just going to hold you to account.
1040.
Are you being a bit conservative with your 1040?
Well, I'm just saying 1040 is above this line here, so around 1040, 1050. But once it gets through 1016, it's got cleared the major resistance level on it, so it should be a nice move up in terms of a more medium move up and starting a new trend. Because I mean, this has been a massive sideways move since right back in 2010, so it's been really held back a lot since the GFC.
You're right.
Now I know second tier banks have, because obviously their funding costs and things like that, their funding's a lot higher than top tier banks, but with interest rate rising, you know, again, I think if it does move through here, I think it could be a nice little buy. So I've just got a little bit of work on the weekly chart, and I'll bring that up, and again you can see this massive sort of sideways downish move through here, but I've just put a couple of things on here just to help people explain what's going on at the moment. Again, short-term sort of support across through this level through here around $8.44.
It'd be nice if it pulled back and tested that strongly.
Well, that's what I was looking at. So this horizontal line here, I think it's broken this sort of bit of resistance through here. It's moved up 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks and a bit there. Currently Monday, Tuesday, we're looking down a little bit, so I'd like to see it come down and either touch that line, which is around 878, 880, and or not quite get to that and turn around and start to move up. If it can do that and break through this high again, at $9.42. I'd like that.
It makes some nice healthy moves, doesn't it? So if we just have a look at some of these rises that we've seen in history, just in recent years, we can see a nice big move up, 28% there. Going forward from that, another one, that was a very short one, that was only a few weeks up. And again, this repeats. So what have we got here? I wonder, if we think about that, it could come up and challenge that high quite easily.
Definitely come up and challenge that high. I think there's at least 15 to 20% in this, if not more, if it breaks through that levels again. I think it's looking pretty good. So that's it for me on my hot tip for the week.
Thank you for that. That's it for our weekly hot stock tip. Now, strangely, we don't have many emails tonight, so you're in luck, as that leaves you more time for calls and texts. Now, I know I asked you to have your phone ready. Now's the time to pick it up and call us on 03 9290 9988. That's 03 9290 9988. And if you prefer to text, send your question to the number on the screen.
Now, to give you a little bit of incentive, the first caller into the show right now gets a free copy of my book, Accelerate Your Wealth. But hang on to your hats. We've actually added an additional bonus for tonight. Now, Janine will pick the best caller, and you've got to call in, the best caller from tonight's show, to win a special one-on-one chat with Janine. Now, that's right, you could be the lucky winner of an in-depth chat with industry expert, that girl over there, Janine Cox, where you can pick her brains about all things stock markets. And remember, no question is too silly or too basic, so make sure you pick up your phone and dial 03 for Melbourne 9290 9988 right now. Now, while you do that, tonight is the second Tuesday in the month, which means we take a look at the Australian market sectors. So let's get into the charts. All right, now on the screen, on the screen is the watch list of the sectors in the Australian market.
I had to take a deep breath then, because I'm just wanting to get into this. I love this week of the month and just talking about the sectors. To me, this is the most exciting part of the lot. Not that I don't like sharing discussions about the All Ordinaries with you, and we had an interesting one last week.
We did.
However, looking at the board here this week, and this is only the week, but I just wanted to have a look at what's been happening in the last month, just to see the change of the guards. And then we'll go into the yearly. So consumer discretionary is up 0.97%. Now, I think that this could be one to watch going forward. We'll probably have a show covering this area of the market coming up at some stage, because what's been down must come up eventually.
Correct.
So energy...
Is it the one you want me to look at later on?
Yeah, well, energy is actually, yes, please. Yeah, energy, we're going to have a bit of a look at that. Energy is actually up 0.4.
Yep.
Information tech up 0.19. Now, the rest are all in the red, going down to the worst two, healthcare and utilities. So that's for the month. Now, let's quickly have a look at what's happening.
A few days, isn't it? Like 4 days of last
for the
week.
year, just to see where we're
5 days.
heading and whether things are really being turned on its head. So consumer discretionary still holding up nicely, obviously 12.5 for the year, but it's still been eking its way forward. What's interesting to me is communication services actually up around 12%. Infotech I don't need to talk about, it's up really strongly off those bottoms. But when people look at those numbers, Dale, they often think, oh, well, that's already up significantly, I won't bother with that. So what does that mean to you, given that some of these tech stocks come off their lows?
Well, I'm going to challenge you on that. Not everybody thinks like that. I get a lot of people, because it's been running, they think it's going to continue to run. It's like some of those stocks, those smaller cap stocks, they got 50, 60%, and then everybody jumps on them thinking it's going to continue to do so.
But do you think people have changed, though? Because previously that was the case when we saw this big rush into the tech sector, but a lot of people have been burnt now, so don't you think that they will be a bit more cautious about tech stocks?
No, because I've been doing this for nearly 3 decades, and as they say, same shit, different day, basically. So there's just people will do that. Whatever's running, they'll jump on it near the end. The amateurs generally buy at the top and sell at the bottom, and so that will repeat it. People that got burnt in information technology more recently will probably be less likely to do it, but there'll be another wave of people if you get stocks taking off.
So looking down the list again, industrials are doing quite well, up 10%. Energy's up 7.18%. Utilities up 6.6%. Consumer staples 4.7%. Real estate
Yeah.
is only 3. There should
know.
be a bit of movement in that one, you'd
I'm
think.
excited about the bottom 3, but not necessarily
what about-
real estate, because I think we're going to have an interesting time. Real estate's more commercial real estate. That's what that's looking at, isn't it?
Well, it's a mix.
It's a mix, but there's
But
probably a
it's a
lot
lot
of
of
them at commercial.
Stocklands, you know,
Yeah.
it's real residential.
Well, that's residential there, but we're going to see a big squeeze in commercial real estate over the next few years, because what's going to happen is a lot of banks are going to be asking for their money back because of what's going on with all the office buildings and stuff like that. So I think commercial.
So is that a good thing for renters then, businesses looking for rentals?
Not necessarily, because buildings are valued on the rental yield you get per square metre of office space or space that you're renting out. But what we're actually going to see is probably a lot more office buildings for sale. And probably prices coming down.
Do you think they'll convert them into residential?
There's challenges with that too. I've been chatting with a few people around that. Is trying to convert an office building into residential is hard, but it's possible. Yeah.
Okay.
But I love what you're seeing
All
on
right.
the bottom: healthcare, financials,
Yeah.
and materials. I'm excited
Beautiful,
about
isn't
those
it?
3 areas
So
because
am
I'm
I.
seeing. I looked at healthcare yesterday with all our Talking Well subscribers. Looked at all the stocks above 300 million, and we found a rip snorter, heaps of them.
Why this is so interesting is because these are the biggest sectors on our market. Now, if they go up, that means our market is going to
Well,
boom,
materials and
doesn't it?
financials are. Healthcare is not too far behind, but we found a lot of stocks yesterday in healthcare, so that's what my thought is.
Fantastic. That is it for our thoughts on the Australian market sectors. Stay tuned as we've some great stocks to share with you a little later, including BHP, SFR, AIS and Hot Chili.
Wow.
Now, Dale, it's time that we get into our first email.
Okay, our first email is from Anton, and now this is more of a trading question here, and so some of you may not fully understand what he's asking. However, Jenny and I will do our best to keep things simple for beginners and some of the investors. But Anton says, "Hi Dale and Janine, I have a question with respect to one of your favourite phrases. Stick to your rules. Let's say I have a stock at price X with a stop right below a support level or important moving average. Now let's assume the stock gaps down to a level where I expect the second support level or next moving average. I agree that stick to your rules is in general the best thing to do, and moving down a stop loss shouldn't be done. On the other hand, if it gaps in such a way that it is actually right above another important support level, would you say it makes sense to risk another 1 or 2% since the stop was already gapped down? Anyhow, by a multiple of this, losing 15 or 17% doesn't make much of a difference. But if it holds this support, it probably will go up again and continue its previous rise. Now, please don't get my question wrong. I'm not at all asking for specific trading advice regarding this stock. I'm just interested as it somehow seems appropriate to me to wait and see if the next support holds and the stocks starts rising again, or to anyway sell if the next support breaks as well, especially since the gap was caused by an event, example earnings, and another huge gap below the next support level seems absolutely unlikely. I would love to hear what you are thinking of cases like this. Thanks. All the best from Austria. Anton. So Anton watches us from Austria.
Wonderful. I wonder what that's like at this time of year.
Warmer than Melbourne.
Really?
Probably. And in a few months it'll be colder
I don't
than
know.
Melbourne.
I just think of all the snow and the little beautiful houses covered
I
in
love
snow.
Austria. I skied Austria for like 7 days.
Oh,
but
wow.
that doesn't answer
No, we're not
Anton's
answering
question.
his question. Thanks, Anton. You got us dreaming there. Okay, so a couple of things that he's raised, and one of them is stop losses. That,
Correct.
you know, do you adjust? So if a stock gaps down on earnings and it goes below a certain level, would you wait to see if it recovers a little bit after that it's an overreaction?
It's real context driven, isn't it? I mean, he gave us a tiny little snapshot of whatever stock, I don't even know. So I put.
So if you saw the stock, you'd
I'd
be
have to
able
look
to
at the
answer it.
stock. Because what is a support level? Is it a really strong one? Is it a weak one? There's different levels of strength on a support or resistance
Well, he was
level.
talking about moving averages,
That
which
was
is
some
not
of them,
what
yeah.
we look at, is it? I mean,
Well, no, I don't really like moving averages. I don't find them necessarily that
because
valuable.
it's assuming that you're factoring in a whole lot of things when you're not. You know, you're just talking about the moving average rather than there's so many other things that should be considered.
Yeah, I don't think that we can't give them a blanket yes. To me, it's follow your rules. That's it. So if you've
Well,
got rules,
I
follow
think
them.
I think on the other hand, you know, depending on how experienced you are and how well you know that stock and how it moves, I think that's got to be factored into the equation.
You can't also say it won't gap down even further.
That's
either.
true.
You
It
can't
depends
do
on the
that.
news, doesn't it?
Yeah, because you were saying it's highly unlikely or it's not probably not possible, but it is.
You can never say that.
You can never say that because we've seen that. We've seen stocks stop, rise up a little bit the next week or 2 weeks, and all of a sudden gap again and do the same
But
thing
sometimes
again.
stocks can actually close down on overreaction and then rebound and come back up again to the top of
Correct.
the bar at the end of the day.
Yeah, so I wouldn't set my next stop at 1 or 2% below that. We generally have lots of ways we get out or manage our
Oh,
way
he
out
just
of
sort
that
of said,
stock.
well, what if the you know it was 1 or 2% below where his stop loss was, you know, and because we know that sometimes stocks can, if they're really like lower liquidity type stocks, they can really move around a lot. So it
can.
might actually bounce down below that level and turn and close back up for the end of the week. You just
Well,
don't
it
know.
could, and that's the thing. I don't know what the stock is, so
yeah.
unless we look at the stock and do analysis
In
on the stock,
entirety.
actually giving the answer makes it a little bit hard. But
Yeah.
I would probably, if I saw that on a stock I had and it gap down to a support level and hit there, I'd have my stop loss underneath the low of that bar on a weekly basis. That's I wouldn't have it another 1 or 2% below that. I would have it. That's the bottom of the bar. If that gets broken, I'm out.
Yep.
So that's how I would probably help you. Anton,
Even
at
if
the
you had
moment.
one of the strongest levels for the stock directly underneath it
Well,
in
you would,
all
yeah.
of history.
You would, wouldn't you? Because it'll just, if it's going to go down below that low, it's probably going to keep going down a lot
okay.
more. So to me, it's again,
Like you said, it's situational.
it is because you can say yes, you need to stick to your rules, and if somebody's a beginner, don't have any questions. Stick to your rules, whatever they are. Don't guess it because all too often we say to people about hey, once you get experience, you can have the art of trading. That's when you bend a few rules a little bit, but that's still trading on rules. You're just using other rules and creating other rules in a context of what's actually happening.
Not as black and
but
white.
But all too often I see traders take that art of trading type concept and then make up anything that they feel like. And I'm not saying Anton's doing that, but you see that. And I've had people that I've been mentoring and go, well, you're just using the term art of trading very, very loosely here because you have no rules around it. You just decided, I didn't want to lose that much. So you've decided to make
Yep.
up some rules.
Okay.
So stick to your rules, Anton. That's my advice.
Thanks, Anton. Dale, now we have a text from Gerard. Hi, Janine and Dale. I hope you are both well. I'd like to hear your opinion on Global X Battery Tech and Lithium ETF. The code is ACDC. Thanks, Gerard. Good choice. Interesting one indeed. ACDC and appropriately named.
All right. If you're going to give us a call, make sure you call us on 92909988 and you can win a chat with Janine.
Now,
So,
I'm looking at this and
AC/DC.
thinking, well, that looks interesting to me, the fact that it's come down where it has. Because if you look at some of those previous falls, they're all in that same sort of order.
Yeah, you're talking about these ones.
Yeah,
all
so
sorts of
these
falls.
sorts of falls, it's not uncommon for the stock to move down to the degree that it recently has because it's done it, there in, what was that? That was in 2022.
Yeah, if I just
10%, 12%. This looks a little bit less on this one.
9.8.
And that was only
how much?
2 weeks, yeah, and then we've got 4, 5, 6 weeks. So it's nearly
nice.
there now, isn't it?
It's nice little rhythmic. Yeah, it's nice. I mean, we don't know whether he owns it or he doesn't do it. Gerard hasn't said something
No, he hasn't.
on that. But you're looking at you're looking at a trend line. It's,
How nice is it though to trade anything that is rhythmic like that?
That is really, really good to trade. Something that does this is really, really nice to trade. The only challenge is you've got a shallower move back and then a deeper move back from, if you're looking at those lows, slightly shallower here and much more shallow
But
here.
there
I
was
think
no
this is probably
exit on any of those, so
none
it's
of those.
really nice,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So I think it's probably got a bit more to go before it finds out. But we also got to look at, that was July 2022, so it might even be coming down into like a yearly low or something like that. So you can see if we look at the bigger picture, it sort of had its major low back here in March and then had this one in July. So it's nice, big, long, smooth. I think it's probably got a bit more to go down. That's my thinking.
Well, looks like we have a caller, Dale.
Oh, fantastic. We have a caller from, I think it's Jacob on the line. Is that you, Jacob?
Yes, you do. Hang on, I'm just going to turn the speakers down. Yep.
Oh, fantastic. You're the good-looking fella they told me about in my ear. Where are you from, Jacob?
I'm from Gerringong.
Gerringong. Where's that?
That's on the New South Wales south coast.
On the south coast of New South Wales. Well, there you go. I've never visited Gerringong, so I might have to do that one day and have a beer with you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool. You got a question for us tonight, Jacob?
Yeah, I'm asking about the stock Elders,
Yep.
ELD. I just bought it today.
Fantastic.
I think it looks reasonably good. It's come up a little bit off that that resistance line and that the price level there.
Yep.
Hasn't come up a lot, but it's come up a little bit. So I'm happy to set a tighter stop loss, and
Yep.
I just wanted to ask your thoughts about it.
What kind of work did you do on it to decide to buy?
I looked at the price level. It come down to I think it was the 61.8% fib level, and there was a nice reversal. I looked at there was a reversal, monthly reversal pattern,
Yeah.
and then there was a swing entry, just a swing entry, a weekly on the swing on the weekly chart.
Okay, so you want to put a tight stop on that, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just a fairly tight stop because it's only come up a little bit off that resistance, that price level.
Okay, so what was your stop that you've put on it? Have you figured out given us a number or something?
Oh, give me a look at it.
You didn't
I
expect me to
You're
ask
doing
all those
well.
questions.
He's doing well. You're doing well, Jacob.
He's doing
Yeah,
well.
what I do is I haven't got it down here on paper. I'd have to have a look at the stock right now. I haven't
No,
got
that's
it in front of
okay.
me.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll
Can we
let you
just
off
help,
this time.
can we help him
I-
out
I
and get
do-
into it now?
We can help you out, Jacob. Don't you worry about it. Janine's got it all on the chart. She'll sort it all out for you and you'll sleep easy tonight. Thanks for your call, Jacob.
All right. Okay, on the chart here, we can see Elders, and it looks really nice here, the support level he's talking about. So well done in identifying that. It looks like it started to move off this bottom, so that's another positive sign. And we can see there's higher volume in recent weeks, although just the last few weeks it's fallen away, and probably explains what's going on here. So we can see more recently the opens and the closes of the bar these bars are really close together.
Yep.
So it's just starting to move up again this week. Looks nice, but you know, it's early in the trend, so there's a risk on that, but it doesn't mean you can't buy it there. I just think it looks interesting.
So where would you have your stop loss?
Oh, I'd probably have it. Given it's only just bounced off the bottom,
Yeah.
I'd probably have it really tight. So
Would you
somewhere
have bought it?
around $6.70 or thereabouts,
Yeah.
$6.80.
Would you have bought it?
No, not
Okay.
at this point.
So you wouldn't have bought it, and you'd have your stop loss around about somewhere around here. So that's $7.680.
Well, that's where all the prices are hanging around there, aren't they?
Yeah. So if we go and put on the current thing there down to that low, we're talking
That's
about
too
90.
much.
That's way too much by the time it hits down to that low. So you're talking about 680 somewhere around here.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? Sort of 10% ish,
Yep.
something like that, roughly.
Well, it's 665, but it could be, yeah.
Somewhere around
Because it
there.
might just pull back and test that.
Well, you think with
before
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks up, it's probably going to head down for 1, 2 to 3 weeks. That'd be my guess. Now,
It'd be
so
nice to see it move up first. It's trying
I would.
to.
But look, again, a day, nothing runs for 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks up without coming down again. So I would, I would say
We'll
don't
never
be
say
surprised.
never.
Well, never say never, that's true. But I wouldn't be surprised if it came down for a couple of weeks before it went back
I
up
like
again.
the stock though, Jacob.
But I do
you know.
like it, yeah, well
Looks
done.
good. Now, before we get into some more great stocks, it is your time to support the show by hitting that subscribe button on YouTube. And whilst you're there, remember to hit the like button, as it helps others like you to find our content. Importantly, it shows your appreciation to the team who put in a lot of work into producing this show.
Now, if you'd like to learn how to properly construct and manage a portfolio, whether it's short, medium or long term, then remember you can still grab a free copy of my my best-selling book, not my latest one, How to Beat the Managed Funds by 20% for free. All you got to do is pay the shipping. Just head to wealthwithin.com.au and click on the link on the home page.
So you're going to write another one?
No.
Okay, Dale, it's time we get into our topic for tonight. Before we do, I'd like to share a quote by Catherine Susanna Pritchard, an Australian author who said, "The mining industry might make wealth and power for a few men and women, but the many would always be smashed and battered beneath its giant threads."
That's a bit deep, isn't it?
Isn't it deep?
That's
What do you
pretty
think of
deep.
that? So, Australian author, woman who was, around in the times when a lot of authors didn't even put their names to books.
Well, no, especially if you've I suppose especially because you're female.
Yeah, well, a lot of books got written by women, but men actually put their names to them.
Yeah, well, that's true too, because women are more creative sometimes, aren't they?
well-
But from that point of view, but I don't disagree with what she's talking about, because obviously to have a mine, people get mega rich, don't they, with these mines? And
Don't they? And
It's
people, I just saw
very-
on somewhere in media the other day that there were 10 people killed on a mine or critically injured.
that
So
happens
it
all the
still
time.
happens.
Oh, look, it does happen, but yeah, I don't discount what she's actually saying, because it is sort of a small amount of people that actually own the mines and everything else. So I think it's a great quote.
Well, Dale, we're talking about some hot stuff tonight. I mean, hot stocks like hot chili. So are you ready? The look said it all. Let's get into chatting all about copper. Now, it's no secret that copper is a very important commodity for its many uses globally. And in Australia, copper is worth around $13 billion and growing to our bottom line each year.
Okay, now I'm sure everyone knows that copper is used in just about everything from home construction, electrical equipment, machinery, including electric vehicles, smartphones, the power sector, and so much more. Now, what everyone may not know, Janine, is that copper is a key component in the quest for a greener future with wind and solar as well. So
It's
it
everywhere,
is
isn't
huge.
it?
Well, it is. I mean, those generators need a lot of copper.
Yeah, I mean, everything more or less that's electrical that has motors is going to have copper in it.
Correct. Yeah, correct, totally. And even even the wires we use for the internet, the whole bit, there's a lot of copper everywhere, isn't there?
So do you wear any copper jewellery?
No.
Oh, really?
I see old people, not me.
But isn't
copper
copper
bangles.
supposed to help you sleep better? There was a big fad at one stage of people having copper under their pillows and
Yeah?
in their
I've
bedding.
heard of anodised plates, but not copper.
And even copper bracelets, which to me
Yeah,
is
copper
crazy.
bracelets for arthritis.
Yeah, really? I
Yeah,
just wouldn't
but-
want to have extra.
But
in
we're talking
copper.
about investing here, Janine.
Oh, okay.
And copper and making
How
money
do we
out of
digress?
copper.
Now, Dale, many in the financial industry believe that copper prices will rise significantly in coming years. Some are saying supply will peak next year. How about we take a look at what Citi and Goldman Sachs have said about copper prices?
Now, this article is in the Western Australian News, and it was back in May, and it said it was reported that base case copper could rise by nearly 50% in 2025 to $12,000 a tonne. Now, while in the bull case, prices could double to $15,000 a tonne. Wow.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? And grabs people's attention. The Western Australian also said in another report in May that Goldman Sachs gave copper prices 25% upside over the next 12 months, rising to $11,000 a tonne.
Wow.
Now, that all looks exciting, but do you think we should trust these forecasts?
Well, I think you've got to take notice of them, but how far do you trust?
Well, I think that's where the charts come in, isn't it? It helps us work out whether what they are saying has some, fact behind it.
Well, it is. You've got to base your opinion on fact, not opinion.
Yeah, because I mean,
So-
how do we know that something could happen in the world that changes all their forecasts completely?
Well, we could have another COVID outbreak.
Well, we could,
type
or it
thing.
could be the opposite, that some company finds a huge deposit of copper that's undiscovered, or that is, for whatever reason, a new technology to help change the way that copper is produced.
Maybe
And
they have new technology. We don't need copper. You don't know.
Possibly.
But anything is possible. But I think we need to trust those sources to a point of that looks interesting. Now let's do some more research
Yeah, I
and look at
agree.
the charts and see what's going to happen. Because obviously, supply demand. You're looking at the futures contracts and everything else for copper and what's happening there. So that'll give us an idea of what stockpiles are there, who's mining what. Obviously, prices and
we need to look at that
currency
soon.
rates and all that sort of stuff. We need to look into anyway. don't we?
Definitely.
Cool.
Now, Dale, I found some commentary on Stockheed's website, and it was from Robert Friedland, a mining magnate who has a copper mine due to come online in 2024. And he had this to say.
Okay. Who's
Friedland.
he?
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Who is he?
Friedland, he's a mining magnate.
A mining magnate. Okay, like a Gina Reinhardt.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay.
Friedland, or should I say without a skirt, Friedland, or should I say Robert, said in May that copper's lull is momentary and he expects China to stimulate the economy in the second half. He also says mine supply will need to double in 25 years to meet demand. Now that is a big call.
That's a huge call. So he's saying we are facing a supply crisis, and we also know rising interest rates. They are masking what's going on, and that seems to be suppressing the supply at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I read somewhere that Robert says urbanisation in India and China will drive demand, irrespective of whether developments in tech reduce the demand for copper in, say, EVs. And we know mine approvals are much more stringent now, so they're much harder to get online.
Oh, that sounds like a perfect storm, Janine. And then, again, does he have... Oh, he does have a huge vested interest, though, in the boom story, doesn't he? Being he's a mining magnate.
Well, yeah, nothing gets by you, does it?
True. Also, nothing actually gets by our viewers, so it's not some superpower that I have. So how about we get into the charts and see if they can confirm what's being said by this Robert?
Superpower?
I don't have superpowers.
Okay, we'll just hold on to your horses then.
Our viewers have got superpowers.
You hold on to your horses.
I don't have
Before we
horses
get
either.
stuck into the charts, or before I get... Think about BHP's takeover of Oz. They obviously knew something.
Well, that was one of the takeovers on the
That
top
was
of
key timing, wasn't
Well,
it?
no, that was one of the takeovers on top of your list, wasn't it? You know,
Yeah.
BHP, you know, at the time you said they appeared to be paying a premium from Oz Minerals.
Well, yes, and I was annoyed about the takeover because another great company disappears from the exchange. But because it was BHP, it was okay. I like to check whether investors are getting a fair deal. And my last one was covered on the show a couple of weeks ago. And I also did a podcast on Tesserent. That was the one we covered. If you haven't listened to that, then it's worth taking a few minutes to listen to it on iTunes or on your favourite podcast app. Just Google Talking Wealth Podcasts.
Okay, now, Janelle, I must admit that I'm really excited about copper prices because of what you just talked about. Now, Australia has some great stocks that can provide good profits from an impending copper boom.
Well, that's just one reason why I'm so excited. And BHP was not taken over. And we will get into the chart of BHP and other great copper stocks in a moment. First, I want to share our thoughts on the chart of copper.
Okay, so you got chart of copper up there now.
Yeah, so this is the copper futures chart. So Optima has a lot of commodities charts that you can have a look at.
Its stock to go is HG2 Spot.
That's right. Now, I just think this looks so interesting. If we look at the rise that we've seen recently, now COVID obviously made a quickly depressed the price. So that happened, but it did bounce back really quickly. But we've got this lovely little move up here where it's kept coming back. Now, if copper prices start to move back up and we see this rise above, was it last week's high, then we know that we're on that next run.
Yep.
If we see a short-term decline, well, it's a short-term decline, but the supply situation can explain that. I think it's temporary.
You think the supply is temporary? I mean, look at, that's a huge big move, isn't it? When you look at the whole history of copper, look at that. So it's this huge sort of move across that sort of line there. So you're thinking if it gets over
through that
$4-ish mark, it could be moving right up into these new highs or maybe
so
even higher.
that's the test, I guess, of what they're saying. They're talking about copper prices going up. So what we do is we come in and say, okay, everybody, we're just going to test and have a look at the copper price chart and see what it needs to get through before we believe what they're saying.
Well, correct, because I mean it's a commodity, and commodities generally a little bit more cyclical in nature, and you can see that here because it's travelling between sort of that $2 area and that $4 area. So you're saying, hey, if it gets moving with that supply chain, that supply pressure, this could probably head up to $6, I reckon.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? And like this, Robert Friedland's mine is due to come on in 2024.
Well, he'd want the copper price to go up.
He would, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But that means more supply in the short term, so that'll be
Correct.
interesting to see.
That'll be interesting to see that
how that
anyway,
affects
but
it.
Cool, I like it.
Well, we shared our view on copper, and even if you've picked up one thing of interest tonight, if copper prices do rise strongly, you could make a bucket load of cash.
I think 2 bucket loads of cash, Janine. But anyway, now we can get into what everyone has been waiting for. I've got some great stocks tonight. Now I can get into the best copper stocks and we'll give you some tips to help you profit more during any sort of copper squeeze. I like that.
Yes, it's good, isn't it? It's a copper squeeze. Now, if we look at BHP, which is the first stock that we're going to have a look at tonight, because we know that BHP's now got a huge exposure.
Yes.
So they've got Olympic Dam in South Australia, so 138 killer tonnes in 2022 were produced from that. They purchased Oz Minerals in 2022, so they got Prominent Hill at 58.5 tonnes. Now, the market cap of BHP is 230.85 billion. I'm not trying to say that copper is the thing that's going to be just driving BHP's share price, because let's face it, iron ore is the big ticket item, and in terms of the benefit to the Australian economy, iron ore is, probably 10 times that potentially, or it could be more than that.
Well, I mean, I think China are taking more now than what they were prior COVID.
Well, that's what the industry are banking on, that China, the Chinese economy is going to kick into gear.
But they both need steel, so
that's true.
either they've got to get it from BHP or they've got to get it from Fortescue. Or
But it's
Rio.
copper we're talking about, so it's,
I know.
if everything takes off and they start buying more copper,
You
then
started
we'll
the
see
steel
the copper price rise.
talking. I just helped you.
All right. So in terms of BHP and what we think about BHP, it looks nice the way that it's unfolding. It just doesn't want to go away from this high. We're just going to skip ahead to that weekly chart and have a look. And you can see here there's a lot of resistance for BHP around this level. It could slip below this low. This is what we've got to watch right now. If BHP falls below,
42.70.
that means everything's going to stall, because our stock market will stall if that happens, because obviously the waiting for some of these big mining stocks, because Rio's in there as well. If BHP takes out that low, there's a high probability that Rio will take out its recent low as well.
When you look at this chart, with this and the banks, you know why our market hasn't gone anywhere when you look at this
That's
chart.
right, because the big stocks haven't gone anywhere. So this high, though, is higher than that first one, so that's a promising sign. We just need to see BHP push on, and then we've got some more support for the share price, and that will probably mean that copper's moving in the right direction as well, and iron ore. All right.
So what are you suggesting, waiting for it to hit sort of $348 odd?
Well, look, it depends what sort of investor you are, how aggressive you go on BHP. So that's I'm really leaving it up to the viewers to decide
So if
where
they're
they want to
really
go.
aggressive,
Well, if they're really aggressive, they'd probably be in now.
if they're not aggressive,
If they're not aggressive, then they could just wait a couple of weeks to see whether BHP takes off, and if it takes off really strongly, that may change their view. If it falls away, regardless of whether you were aggressive or conservative, you would not be wanting to be in it.
that's the best I can get from Janine from saying yes, buy it now, or buy it in a few weeks.
Yep. All right, so Hot Chili's the next one. Now, this is a really interesting little
Strange name
stock.
for a mine, isn't
That's
it?
a really cool name, isn't it?
I would have thought it was a tech stock.
Yeah, and what this stock has done is something that we've talked about before on
Yes.
lots of little stocks. Now, it's only 173 million in terms of its market cap. I'm just going to put this on before I get rid of the left-hand chart. It's an exploration company focusing on developing of copper projects in Chile. Now, so that's why it's called Hot Chili, okay? So if we look at the way that it's unfolded recently, and we can see that breakout, it's a really nice little pattern. It's the classic formation that often happens before a big move up. But ideally, I'd like to see a pullback now. It's going sideways. There's no more commitment to the rise yet, and it's happened over 4 or 5 weeks at the same price. So now we just need to see that pullback and a further move up. It could take off, because these little stocks, you think the theory says you'd like to see the pullback, and then it doesn't happen and the stock takes off. So you've got to be prepared with the small ones for both, for it to do both.
But you'd think it would, drop its bottom onto that dashed line where your pointer is right now.
In theory, that's what I mean. But if it doesn't, then it might shoot off and go up, could head towards $2.
But then at what point do you stop buying, or do you stay out?
Well, I think, if
That's always the question, isn't it?
It is, because these sort of things could gap up pretty quick. So, if it takes off here, it's got to go 7% just to get through that prior high. If it heads if it were to gap up 10%, then I wouldn't be too concerned about it, because you'd think it would keep rising and probably head up somewhere around this sort of level. But then you've got to have the strategy to get out of it.
Well, you really do, because I know sometimes when you see people and they've got a stock like this and it takes off a bit, and then they jump in here, and then all of a sudden it just falls away.
Yeah.
Because they've just jumped in at the end. So that's what I'm saying.
But they're not looking at the chart then, are they?
Well, that's what I was asking is, well, how far as it can rise before you stop actually looking at getting in? And that's where you really need to know what you're talking about. But ideally it would come back, touch around this line, and then start to take off again, and that would be nice. But I do like what you're talking about, because that's a nice, beautiful sort of
Based on what you've
basing
just
pattern.
said though before, so would you forego the stock, okay, if it did gap up
Yes.
and just let it go.
Yeah. I would rather let it, if I open that up, I would rather, if I use my little trend arrow, I'd rather let it do something like that and then start to move up and get it back here. Or even if it did move up to there, I'd rather pop back, because it will eventually pop back. And that's when I would rather get into it to see whether it's now on a nice big uptrend.
Okay.
Because getting in up
Sometimes
here can
you
be high risk.
surprise me. I think that you're far more aggressive than me, and other times
I try and keep
you're
you
more
guessing,
conservative.
Janine. I try and keep you guessing.
keep
Doesn't
me on my
always work.
toes. All right then. So AIS, that's RES Resources, is the next one. A market cap of 148.5 million. Now,
Yeah.
this one has actually fallen to the downside quite heavily. So, copper stock, what does that mean to people? Do they just ignore it?
That's a huge hunk of volume there on this week through here, isn't it?
And copper prices are holding up so well. So, you know, it's copper, gold and silver. Something must have gone wrong. So you'd have to go to the announcements to have a look,
I
wouldn't
know,
you?
but that's, we're talking about a 16-cent range on a 38-cent stock. There's obviously some sort of announcement. And somebody may know, and they may comment down below in our YouTube channel what that actually is. But very, 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 very volatile type of stock, isn't it?
But would people have known that this was going to happen? So if say someone was holding the stock, because we've seen so many people with stocks where they've risen up significantly like this one, and they keep holding and holding and holding.
They do.
And then it's fallen down to what, this is in this case, it's back down to the COVID low that it hit. So,
it's a trading stock, very, very much so.
but obviously when you get these nice runs, you can make a bucket load of money out of them, can't you?
Well, but that's where you're going to have, maybe you'll have some people, I'll just expand that up, but you'll see, because it does this so regularly, people may be sitting here going, geez, it's down at 20-something cents.
I'll buy it now.
I'll go and buy it
no
'cause
way.
it's cheap.
It's high risk.
But it could go further, but
Yeah.
they might also be getting it where it's just going to go sideways and do nothing for a couple of years. So you want to be getting
And the other thing is that some of these stocks, no matter what the story, they can go off the exchange.
because, look at that.
But anyway, we better move on.
That's huge, those sorts of
All
runs.
right, let's have a look at Sandfire Resources. Now, I'll open the chart up of Sandfire because this is really interesting, the way that this stock has unfolded.
Wow.
It's just done
Sideways
nothing,
for
has
12
it?
years,
How can
pretty
a
much.
stock like this do that? That's what I'm not sure. You'd have to go and read the story and find out what's happening with the share. Obviously, COVID made damaged it significantly. It was trading up beautifully. It had made a new all-time high. It was looking lovely at that point. And then something went wrong. You'd want to go back and read the announcements back
Is this
in...
a takeover target?
Not sure, back in 2018, just to find out what was happening then. And then COVID hit, and of course that just smashed it out of the park. And since then we've seen a retest of that low. So the positive thing is the fact that this low's been retested, I think. And now it's just a question of, is it going to keep going up from this point, and just be waiting for that opportunity when it does. But it's just, some of the movements on this stock are really odd. It looks really nice at the moment though. It's had this huge close
very
here, 28th of July, which looks really good. But look, sometimes we can get these moves on the smaller stocks, and then they're being ramped,
Yes.
we're seeing, and then all of a sudden
But that
people
one
get
doesn't look like
burned.
it's being ramped. You're not seeing a lot of extra volume. It's like volumes
Yeah, I
are
know.
actually lower here than what it was through here. So I wouldn't say this is being ramped. I think this is possibly smart money.
Yeah,
getting
market
into it.
cap 2.96 billion, so it's not a small
Super
stock.
strong.
It's a really interesting one, I think, to keep an eye on. So DVP, Develop Global, this market cap is 613 million. So this is a small company, and I wouldn't really encourage. I bought this up because I would say that when you're getting this small, you're talking about extremely high risk for people. It could get pushed around all over the place. Now, it doesn't look great either at the moment. It's been sold off late today. It'd have to head back up through that high at $3.74 to have a hope in going anywhere. So
Looking at a monthly, it doesn't look too bad on a monthly chart.
it looks great on a monthly chart, but the short-term move, if it takes out that low, then you just have to sit and wait for it until it gets back above these highs. But it's setting up for something, it looks like, doesn't it, long
Yeah,
term?
it looks like it's setting up something long term.
But there's been a sell-off. Whether that's due to an announcement, I don't know. I haven't followed the announcements on them. So now let's have a look at 29 Metals. The market cap is 357 million on this one.
Yep.
Now, this has been sold off, obviously during COVID. That was 2022 though, but did it launch? It launched in July 2021. So it's only just new to the market, this one. I was thinking of another stock, but It's consolidated around this bottom here.
That's a good looking sign, that,
It's
isn't
a good sign that the fall may actually be over. But it's below $1, and you know how we feel about stocks trading below $1. It really needs to get back above that level to be in the safe zone again.
Yep.
But from a pattern point of view, I just like the pattern and the way that it's unfolded on that decline. It's nice and orderly, and that should mean that when it does start moving up, that we go back into a new pattern formation and the start of a bigger trend if it heads back through that high.
Okay, so if it takes off from through here, that's not bad, is it? Because that's just a beautiful little move down here if you're looking at just a nice little trend line down through there. So it's looking quite nice.
Yeah, we
I
just
like
need to
it.
see. It's just retesting that low at the
I'd like
moment.
to see volume move up a little bit higher as it moves up, but I love this. I think this is really good.
Okay, so is that your dark horse for the night?
It's probably my dark horse for the night, I think. But again, I'd like to see, not necessarily investors, it's just more of a trader stock.
It
I
is a
think.
trader stock. Now this one's a really small one. I think I'm right here, but you just have to check this market cap of
Wow.
61 million. It's a copper cathode producer. Now it's been it's been struggling for a while, but what interested me about this one is the formation, which I haven't, I've seen on a couple of stocks, but it's really odd, isn't it? This sort of move up that we're seeing here, the zigzag formation there. Now, the question really is at the moment, is this a zigzag before it falls away again, or is this a zigzag before it starts moving up? What do you think?
Well, I think if it stays above that low from back earlier this year and starts to move up, I think you might be okay.
Oh, they're low under here?
Yeah. I think if it stays and starts to move up from where it is right now, I think we could have a nice little rise up through, probably 30, 40, 50% rise.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? It's interesting how there's the haves and the haves not in this industry, and until we see that copper price push on, it'll be interesting to see how these go. But you really need to do research into the individual companies when we're talking about stocks
But
at these low levels.
This one's definitely not for investors. It really is. It's because if you look at that monthly chart, it's
Yep.
very much a trader stock right now because you've got to get into it and get out fast.
All right, now there was one here. This is actually Xanadu Mines,
Mines,
which is
yeah.
an interesting one to look at, which we'll move on. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was this Wire, which is a feeder fund that invests directly in the New York Stock Exchange ARCA-listed global ex-copper mines, which we're going to talk about after the break.
Yep.
But this is a feeder fund. So I just thought a lot of people might not be aware that feeder funds exist, and they're used by hedge funds. So what they do is they have a big fund, the main fund, and they have lots of feeder funds around it. So they pay lower costs by having all the funds, all the capital sitting in these main funds.
Okay.
And the investors invest through these feeder funds. So I thought that was an interesting one to bring up because you might not have heard about that before.
Oh, there you go. Well, that is it for our topic for tonight. So if you are watching on YouTube and interested in building your wealth, then it just makes sense for you to subscribe to talkingwealth.com, as you'll gain access to hundreds of interviews with trusted experts from around the globe that will help you get more wealth into your life. Head over and claim your free 7-day trial by visiting talkingwealth.com. Now, Janine, before we get into more stocks, I think it's time we get into your favourite segment of the show, which has us all saying, what the?
Well, Dale, this week I couldn't help myself with this one. It's an article in the Herald Sun about a tech company, and get a load of the image. This is where everyone must be saying, oh.
What the? How is this relevant, Janine?
Yeah, wait a minute. I haven't read the first bit out yet.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's going to help me, Janine.
Yeah, I know.
Not with looking at that title and the picture.
Oh, I thought it was good.
I'll let
Look,
you
I
go.
want to take a look at the title, which reads, Cashed Up Ballador is looking for opportunities to recovering tech sector. My first thought was tech sector, stock market. It's child's play. What do you say to that?
Well, I don't think the image sort of matches the title, but the kid's playing with the calculator and playing chess. So he looks like he's an accountant, but he
He's a
doesn't look like
cutie,
a
isn't
tech
he?
guru. But I mean, trading the market is child's play, and obviously trading tech stocks, people can do that. Just a little bit of knowledge, you can be able to do that. So I just get a disconnect between a young 3 or 4-year-old playing with their calculator with glasses on and playing chess. He looks pretty scary to me. I don't think I'd like to come up against him on a chess game.
Yep.
So,
Makes it look easy though.
well, he does make it look easy, and then trading the market's not that hard. We teach that all the time. I know how many people go, oh, the stock market's scary, oh, it's hard, and it's like, well, no, it's not. It's easy and it's not that scary, but anyway.
Okay, was this just someone choosing an image based on a feeling, as the stock market can be dry, or a clever attempt to stand out, get our attention, and ultimately help push the share price up and lower our guard?
I think it was just clickbait, people clicking on a cute kid.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what was going on. Click on
So
a
you
kid.
don't think there was any intelligence behind it?
Maybe not. I mean, sometimes you just click on an article that's got an interesting title or it's just got an interesting image, but then when you read the article, it's pretty nothing
Nothing
there.
like the image.
Nothing like the image. And
That's
so I
why
think
we
that's-
love looking at these stories,
I
don't
think
we?
it's one of those ones, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
well, on a more serious note, let's take a look at the text underneath, which reads, having made hay while the sun shines, with more than 200 million in cash realisations, Bellador Technology Investments is on the lookout for new high growth opportunities. When I read the article, it seemed more like an ad, but what one of the co-founders did say was actually interesting. And he says, when looking for tech companies, look for the ones in the expansion stage rather than the early stage ventures. Now
That
that's
is so
different,
true.
isn't it? Because a lot of people, when they're buying these companies, they're buying these penny dreadfuls. Instead of doing the research, they just hear something in a report and then think, oh, these people are promoting this stock. That's just a hot tip. They go and take it rather than just checking to see where the company is in its earnings phase
but
or
still,
development.
Still the wrong image too, because you should have had a teenager then. Not a child there. And
Yeah,
he's,
good point.
And he is correct in what he's saying, because remember, I've interviewed a lot of tech people across the US for talkingwealth.com, and they're saying if you're in that early stages, that's the high risk area, and a lot of the venture capitalists try and stay out of that sort of area. So once you've got proof of concept, then you're getting more people, and so that more of expansionary phase is much, much better to invest in. So I love what he's talking about, but again, I think I'd have a teenager in his bedroom on an iPad or a phone doing something to say tech for me, or
Okay.
on a computer with his, well, you know,
The mind boggles.
with a baseball cap
Where
on
is your mind
backwards or
going?
something like that. I don't
Okay.
know, but anyway, but
Maybe it's you.
Thank you, Janine. That was a really good one. Now it's your time to pick up your phone and give us a call on 0392909988. That's 0392909988. Or you can text your question to the number on your screen. So make sure you pick up your phone now. The numbers are on your screen. And remember, Janine's going to pick one lucky phone caller to spend some time with one-on-one on the phone. So please give us a call and you'll have a chance to win some time with Janine.
Come on, call into the show. And whilst we wait for your texts and calls, we will get into the next question, which comes from Joey, who texted, "Hi Janine and Dale, I've noticed the new format on the show and think it's really great. I'd love to hear your thoughts on James Hardie. I bought at $30.40 on the 16th of February. Planning on holding until my trailing stop loss of 15% is broken. Thanks, Joey." Great question. Thank you very much. Very interesting. Now, have you got it up there?
I'm getting it up. So
Okay.
he bought it at $30.40.
Wow,
wasn't
look
it?
at that.
Right
well
down
done.
here. Well, that's awesome.
Phenomenal. It's
I
done
think
really
I'll
well.
retire and let
Let
Joey
him
get
come
on
onto
the
the
show.
show.
He can
Yeah,
take my
come
spot.
on board.
Doesn't get much better than that. I love it.
Yeah, you've done well. And look, it's still going up. So how does he manage that? Is a trend line a good option?
Well, let's have a look. We'll put a trend line up underneath this
Just
one. See,
underneath that
can we-
rise?
Can we get... It's not too bad. We could probably get slightly tighter one, but looking really, really good at the moment, isn't it? You know, in terms of... It is accelerating away. So here, that
You reckon
big
it's an
move this week-
exhaustion?
Hey?
Do you think that's an exhaustion?
Well, it could be an exhaustion because
the rise?
we're talking about this thing's been moving up since December, so it's been moving up strongly all year. But big move. We're talking $6.89 on a $40 stock. So that's a nice big move through here. So I wouldn't be surprised if it stalls for a few days or even a week or so with this big move. But it is looking quite nice, isn't it?
What
I
was
love
he
it.
talking about with the 15%?
Well, I think he's got he basically stop loss of 15% is broken. So possibly what he's thinking of is having a stop loss, like I talk in my book for more investors, 15% below a high price. So that would be somewhere
The
around
bottom of that bar.
sort of. Yeah. Now this is not a rule I use as a trader. We don't
Yeah, of
ever
course.
teach this to traders because it's not it's an okay
not a
rule,
proper
but
rule.
it's not a proper rule for trading. But for investors, it's a nice little rule to be able to make. Okay, let's get out without losing too much.
But it's interesting though, when you look at a lot of the pullbacks that happen on stocks, often it's 10 to 15% off the high when the rules trigger.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yeah. But right now, I love what he's got. I think stay in it while it's going up. Keep moving it up and keep moving your stop loss up, because I think it's a really, really good stock. We've liked this stock for a while, haven't we?
We have.
Really. And I don't think this run is finished. It's just a nice little orderly run. I think it's probably got a bit more to go there. So therefore, you know, I think, I'm not sure what your rules were, Joey, in buying this stock, but I think you've done really well in getting it. You know, any more you want to say?
Looks like we've got a caller.
All right, we do have a caller on the line. This one, I believe it's Matt. Is that Matt there?
Yeah, how you going, guys?
Fantastic, Matt. Welcome to the show and thanks for giving us a call. Where are you from, mate?
Central Coast.
Central Coast in New South Wales. Love that area. Which part of it?
It's quite big, but I'm just north of Wyong.
Okay, perfect. Love that sort of
Yeah.
area. You got a question for us tonight?
Yeah, first of all, I'd just like to say I'm a student of yours.
Oh,
I'm only
fantastic.
on just starting Module 3, and some information I'd like to give some people out there that were like me. I wouldn't go anywhere near the stock market if you don't know what I know now. And I don't know a lot, but what I can tell you is I'm so happy I've started the course and I'm doing it, and I already feel really confident on the market. And as I said, I don't claim to know everything. I'm only just starting Module 3, but I wouldn't be anywhere near the market if I wasn't doing one of your courses, I can tell you that much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'll
That's
send
so
you the money
nice
I
of you,
promised
Matt.
you later on.
Oh,
Oh,
Joking.
no,
Thank you.
it's just, I'm really enjoying it. It's another passion. It's something to get into outside of my job, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's
What do you do for a
nice
job?
to come home. I'm a football coach.
Oh, you're a football coach. Awesome.
I know who you are, Matt.
Do you? Have you
Yeah,
spoken
I've
to
Yes,
spoken
Matt?
I've
to you.
spoke to Janine a few times. And,
Wow.
yeah,
Well,
I'm
Fantastic.
into it now, Janine. I finally got around to it, and I'm having a crack. So
Oh, good on
yeah,
you.
2 thumbs up from me. So you're on to the hump module, which is the toughest module of the whole course. So whatever you've learned in modules 1 and 2, just double that.
Yeah.
It's going to accelerate.
I've noticed.
It's going to accelerate. So the team are there to support you all the way. So please make sure you keep sending emails in, and they'll help you get through it all. Now you've got a
Yep.
stock you want us to look at tonight, Matt?
Yeah, so there's a stock called AKE.
Yep.
It's a lithium stock. I don't own it, but my brother does, and he's
Okay.
he's racking my head around it.
He goes, Matt, tell me what to do.
Yes, pretty much, and I'm saying, mate, I'm not telling you nothing yet because I'm not finished the course.
So mate, go and
But-
do the course.
But I'm glad he's asking because I've done a little bit of back testing on it, and
Good.
at the moment it's had a pullback, right? So he's emotionally attached to the stock.
He would be.
And it's down 16.4% of its last high.
Yep.
So I've had a look at it, and it's roughly dropped between 27 and 35% the last 5 pullbacks, or last 4 pullbacks. So I've put a invalid trend line under it.
Yep.
And what I can see is most likely it might go back to 30% again and bounce off that trend line again. But I was just wondering what your guys' thoughts are. That's just what I've kind of looked at, and as I said, I'm not educated fully yet, but I'm having a crack. So
Well, for somebody at the start of Module 3, you're having a good crack at it, that's for sure. So, and I'm sure Janine's got a few things to add there, but look, well done, mate. And good luck with Module 3. If you guys give you a hard time, you come and talk to me, all right? I'll look
I
after
will.
you.
no worries.
All right, thanks, Matt, for calling into the show.
All right, now I'm going to. Do we want the positive or the negative first?
Give him the negative first, and then, what did I call it the other week? A shit sandwich. Go negative,
Oh
positive,
gosh,
negative.
don't talk about that. Do we have to go there?
No, we'll just tell him. Tell him the good stuff then.
Okay then, Matt. Looking at the chart here, you can see I've got the monthly chart on the left and the weekly on the right. Now, from the monthly chart point of view, it doesn't look really concerning because
No,
it's
it
just
doesn't.
the start of the pullback, right, in terms of the month. But it was good that you identified that there have been a couple of previous pullbacks for this stock that were quite significant. Prior to that, though, the falls were much less. So I guess I'd look at that as well, because if it starts a new trend, here we've got about 25%, but it's not to say that it couldn't move down the distance of these bigger ones like you were alluding to before. It's 35, 40. Typically, though, they look a lot less than that. So if the stock comes back to this line that I've drawn on that weekly chart, the first point of support is obviously around here at about $14, but The next one down is all the way down at $12.50. So there's a risk right now that it could fall, I think, down to this level unless it gets going in the next week or so. So that's 25.8 down to that point. So it's already down 1, 2, 3 weeks. And as you know, and if you've seen previously, it could go down between 1 and 4 months. So that's the real risk
So what
here.
should Matt tell his brother?
You know, have the stop loss in place. That's
Make
all
sure
he
he's
can
got a
do.
stop loss in
yeah,
place.
and how much does he want to risk? I mean, I guess to talk to someone who's not technical, the best question you can ask them is how much are you willing to give away? Because you don't know where the stock's going to unfold. And it's really hard when it's family and they're putting pressure on you, and then you don't want to be, taking responsibility for their bad decisions.
Correct. So you get him to make a decision.
Get
That's what
him
you-
to make the decision is what I'm saying, but just all you can do is give him the information like you've done. That's for anyone who has
his brother's in
conversations
profit,
with
isn't he?
family. I didn't get that part.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't remember. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, obviously it's falling away. It's possibly going to fall some further, but I think
Yeah.
that's a good point from your point of view. Get him to do a line in the sand and say, there you go, and leave
If
it
he
up to
was
him.
in profit, he can always take some off the table, because normally when people panic, it means they've got too much money in the market, which means they're risking more than what they really are comfortable with when it comes down to it. So
Good
I guess
advice.
that's a conversation that you can have with him afterwards, is to think about how much you would invest in future so that it doesn't even affect his fear. You know, he's not even concerned about it, and
Yeah,
work
if
back from there.
If you're fearful, it's better out so you can sleep.
That's right.
Cool.
Well, that's all that we have on AKE. We hope you've enjoyed our show on YouTube. Please show your support for us now on YouTube, and this means comment below this video, because we'd love to hear your favourite part of the show. Also, show your support and give us a big thumbs up, and make sure that you subscribe to our channel so that you know when we go live. For those watching on Talking Wealth, stay tuned for the bonus content that we promised.
In next week's show, we get into which sectors perform best in higher interest rates, and then we'll get into which stocks in those sectors will perform the best. We'll also take your phone calls, answer your questions, and so much more. So make sure you put next Tuesday night show onto your calendar. Remember, if you have a stock that you want us to look at, or you have a burning question, then send an email to info@wealthwithin.com.au and watch next Tuesday night show. Also, give us a big thumbs up by liking the show and making sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you comment below this video about what was your favourite stock from tonight's show. Now it's time to say goodbye to our viewers on YouTube. We do hope you enjoyed what we presented tonight. For those watching on talkingwealth.com, stay tuned with us for your bonus content. And as always, thank you for joining us. But for now, goodbye, good luck, and good trading.